So let's start about Persuasion, Jane Austen. And I want to start talking a little bit about the author. So, who was Jane Austen? She was born in Hampshire, in England, in 1775. She had six brothers and one sister. Jane and her sister, the two girls of the family, were even engaged, but never married. They both uh, got engaged in some times of their life, but they too never get married. And in that family, the girls did not have access to formal education. The boys had, but the girls didn't have formal education, so they too were educated at home. The boys were educated at the formal schools. Um, Her father had a large library at home, and everyone of the family had access to the library. And in this environment of reading many books and family meetings to discuss about the books they read, in this environment of books, Jane Austen had access to literary works, poets, essayists, and novelists. And she has six published works between 1811 and 1817. But her first manuscripts were rejected, and she even published anonymously. Um, the, os lugares que publicavam as coisas, os livros, as revistas, eles rejeitaram. They reject their manuscripts, so she had to publish just by a lady. Some people even thought it's written by a lady because had, I don't know, maybe it's a little bit sentimental, but maybe it's a man behind this, it's a man writing these books. Some people thought, but it was Jane. And in all her books, they have all female protagonists. That's important. Let's move on. And Jane began to be, her books began to be written years before their publications. For example, in Pride and Prejudice was written in the 90s, in the late 90s, and got, was called First Impressions and was published many years after. As I said, in 18 something 18 da 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 was published uh, starting 1811 forward, but Pride and Prejudice was written in the 90s, so it's more than 12 years just writing one book. And her family is a bit like one portrayed in the books. Uh, she, we can see that she writes exactly, not exactly, but looks like what she lived, her life, her daily day. So it's always women with few resources. She had a little money, her family, but she wasn't considered a rich, really rich person. And her books is always women with few resources and always accompanied by a family figure, maybe a male figure, a brother, a father, but sometimes an older person with the woman. And at that time, the procedures for publishing her books were handled by the men in the family because, you know, that time the women could not do everything that men could do. So she wasn't heading these procedures for publishing her books. It was always or her father or one of her many brothers publishing her books. It was not just her. And about the period, how was the time that time period in England? We can see as a backwards of her stories, we can see the independence of the United States from the British Crown. It was in the first period of her life, and the French Revolution also in her lifetime. And we can see that some of her brothers went to wars as well. And here about persuasion. It was posthumous. That means she couldn't publicate because she died very young at 41 years old, very young, and it was not her to publish that book because she died and then her family published after her death, so it's called the posthumous, and is considered the most mature um, work, Jane's work, because we can see an evaluation since the first Pride and Prejudice, and she evaluates her writing styles. And it has an older heroine. It's not just a young lady. She started a little young with 19 years old, but then the plot is most when she is 8 years older. So she is with 27 years old. So about the plot of the book, Persuasion. Here it's about the characters. The main character, the protagonist, is called Anne Elliot. She is, as I said, the main character, and she's a sensible, smart young lady. She's part of the Elliot family, which is not really rich, but you know, it's a family that is a high social position. And she is in love with that guy named Frederick Wentworth. And this first time, he is a poor guy, but he's really ambitious. He had this wanting to be more what he is, and he wants to grow up and develop himself. And we also have Walter Elliot, which is Anne's father. He is the head of Elliot family, and He has money, so he is extravagant. He is a man who just look for appearances. He cares more about social status than the well-being of his daughters. So he's a man that just cares about money and the social position of any person. He doesn't look for his heart, his soul, or he thinks. It's just how much money he has. What is he his family came from. It's just this that he looks is a shallow person. And we have also Lady Russell. Lady Russell is a friend and a godmother as well, but friend and responsible to pursue and to refuse Wentworth. She is the main responsible, you know, her family, Anne's family helped a lot, but Lady Russell as a guide. Lady Russell was so friend of the Elliot family that Anne could see her image as her mother, as she was her mother, as a female figure. So she thinks about Lady Rachel is telling me this because it's the best for me. So she accepts the this persuade and refuse Wentworth. And this is the main part of the plot. As I said, the plot is Anne Elliot is in love with Frederick Wentworth, a smart and ambitious young man who had no fortune or social position. And these details here are really important because of this is the persuasion, the main part of this book. And though his social status, Anne was persuaded by her family and friend, Lady Russell, as I said, to end the relationship. They were fell in love. They loved each other. They even got engaged to, they wanted to marry. But her family, as I said, they just saw it the financial part of a person. And Lady Russell as well was the same thing as Elliot family and persuade Anne to end end up with the relationship, and that's what Anne do. And some years later, about 8 years later, Anne's family faced financial issues. As said, her father is extravagant. So he cares about his money. So he's gonna do everything he can to keep this social position and to look like a rich person. He's not so responsible. Not here where I stop. He's not responsible, so he's gonna do whatever he thinks is the best to look the best social position to the others of the social class. And in these 8 years, as they are declining, Frederick became a captain. As I said, he is still, but he was so ambitious. He wanted to grow up, and he did. He grew and became a captain. Now, Captain Wentworth. And as became a person with social status, good status, and good money, and now he has power. So now he can be at the same place as Elliot family was included. So now, 8 years later, Anne and Frederick met again. And here's a problem because Anne never forgot family. She never stopped loving him. She still loved him, but he was upset because Anne left him. She was persuaded, she loved him, but she was persuaded and she left him alone just because of his financial status. And he didn't forgive her. 8 years later, after all the love, just because of money, he was left alone. So he didn't forgive her. And Anne was hurt because um, Frederick was avoiding her and was more with other girls, and she was seeing this and was really, really hurt. Sorry. And the plot develops and gets a point that Frederick realizes that Anne was not the guilty, was not the person to blame. And he writes uh, a letter showing his feelings after all the time, and also realizes the true value of people around her and the truth about their character, the character of the people around her. They have no value. They have money but no value because they just look at what they have in money and not in character. So blessed, Anne and Frederick end up together again, and it's a happy ending. But this whole book, Persuasion, is kind of reflection about giving in to the persuasion of others about your choices, about your thoughts and your happiness. And how long can I listen to someone's persuasion, And what is the point of that talk, that hint? It's just a hint, a good thing, and what part become a persuasion. It's just one part of this reflection we can see in Persuasion by Jane Austen. And that's it. Thank you so much.